Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope everyone is well, in the best of health, in the best of states, as we continue on in our pursuit for meaning. In this week's episode, I want to share something that I've came across over the internet, which I think is very important. We have just ended June, and June has become, in our times, the month of the Kaum Lut, also known as the LGBTQIA plus groups. And in this month, you see people around the world flagging rainbow flags, flags with many colors, celebrating, or in their perspective, commemorating their ability to showcase their ideas and their perspective of what they think is love and all the other buzzwords that they come up with. So recently, back home in Singapore, there was the event called the Pink Dot Movement. And the Pink Dot Movement is basically the Kaum Luts of Singapore day or celebration where they gather around this park called Hong Lim Park to commemorate and to gather around speaking about their agendas and what they want to achieve in Singapore. And so I just wanted to find out a little bit more. So I've been looking online, watching the videos, and then to one of the videos, and I came across a clip from like 9 years ago where there was a movement, a counter movement called Wear White. And there was a clip taken from the news where it was discussing about there's a Muslim group which was starting a movement called the Wear White movement, and how the religious authorities, the Muslim religious authorities, was actually not very happy with the movement, and they somewhat called it like an attack on these people. And in those times, they were fighting for their right to exist in those times, as though they never existed. They always existed. People never actually denied that reality. We always knew they existed. But what they actually wanted in that time was to ask people to accept their perversions or their sexual orientations and all these kind of things. And 9 years on, today, what they are struggling for, they have won that. They have got what they wanted, I guess. And now, after 9 years, they are fighting for a new thing. Can be summed up very easily by a video that they posted recently. And this video that they posted was done in Malay. It was narrated in Malay. And Malay is the language of the Muslims, the majority Muslims, being the Malays who speak the Malay language. And the majority
Kami
of people who speaks Malay are Muslims. And so they were basically pushing this video or projecting
Ini
this video
adalah asas yang
to
sepatutnya
directly
mendukung
at the Muslim
masyarakat
community.
kita.
And in this video, they were saying that
Di
they want to
sinilah kita
celebrate
seharusnya
families.
berasa yang kita benar-benar diterima.
Prior to this, there was the right to love, wherever they define
Tapi
love
bagaimana
as.
jika orang yang kita sayangi
In actual fact, the right to love for them is for us to accept their sexual perversions as acceptable within the society. And now their new agenda is to force upon the community the acceptance of same-sex marriage. It can be summed up in a clip that I saw. There was these two guys doing some PDA, public display of affection, and they were carrying a flag, a banner, saying same-sex marriage now. So this is basically what is happening around the world. The Kaum Lut's agenda in Singapore right now is to push and to legitimize same-sex marriage in our society. And I'm not surprised by this. Singapore being a country which is heavily atheist, one of the countries in the world which has the most atheists actually per capita, and also that being a secular government, Singapore will not will take care, will actually the politics of Singapore is that because Singapore is a small nation state, and of course it has to maintain status quo as much as they can, but influences from outside of Singapore plays a heavy role or heavy impact on society, and so things will change for sure. It's just how fast. Um, so I'm not surprised on that front. However, when I was looking at the videos, I was trying to see and understand what is the sentiment of the Muslim community on the ground. So while I was watching this video, I noticed one of the booths. There were many booths in the pinkdot event, and most Muslims don't go to the pinkdot event because they just don't go. They're not interested in it. They're not for it, and hence understandable that you don't attend such events. So they don't have a first-hand perspective of what is happening on the ground. It's not an open space in that sense. However, I was watching this video. It was basically a vlog by one of these guys, and something caught my eye. And there was this banner or this booth, and it had a banner on top of it called QUASA. And in Malay, QUASA means power. So I was intrigued, and I was like, "Wow, what's this all about?" So I went online and tried to find out more about what is this QUASA all about. So what I stumbled upon is something which is very important, I think, for us to bring across, to us to start sharing, and to us to understand what's going on, what are the agendas that is at play for our communities. So QUASA is spelled as QUASA. As you know, in the Malay language, QUASA means power or the ability. And they don't spell it as KUASA, QUASA, as in power, but they spelled it as QUASA. So I went online and to check it out, like what this QUASA about. I came across their Instagram page and started to look at their posts. And what I came across is basically this group of people who have started to create activist group to promote ultra liberal ideas within the Muslim community. They celebrate people like Amina Wadud, the heretic, and some other figures who are clear cut, from a normative Islamic perspective, are people who are promoting contradictory ideas contrary to the Islamic perspective. So I was looking at their links and I wanted to have an idea of what this guy is all about. So I clicked on the link that they have, and then it came across a podcast that they did. So they did a podcast with this guy called PJ Tam. PJ Tam, if you don't know, he's like a scholar from Oxford, and he can say he's a woke, ultra left person who I would say the product of English universities today, Oxford. It's clear, everyone who comes out from Oxford, not everyone, of course, a lot of people who come out of the Oxford scholarship are usually woke fanatics, as you can see from what is happening in UK. Anyway, that's another thing. So I watched the video, and I think it's very important for me to share with you guys, or to share what is this guys all about, for us to understand what is these people fighting for, what do they mean, what do they want, and what does it mean for us, and how and why is it very important for us to understand this agenda. Number one reason is because today we're in an age where children are fixed to their mobile phones, and they are absorbing everything they see from social media And even with parental filters and all that kind of stuff, it is almost impossible to filter everything out. And children are are sponges. They are not at the stage of being able to filter out what's good and what's bad. They absorb all ideas and all perspective through the videos that they watch. Um, they absorb they absorb hedonistic principles. They absorb materialism. They absorb all of these ideas through the things that they watch, even though it may be masked with cartoons, But every single thing that is out there, it is based on a philosophy. So our children are absorbing all of these ideas. And the thing about social media and feeding them all of this information is that they will take in things, and we've seen this too many times, that there are things which which escapes the filters, and these ideas can and will influence our children. And so it's very important for us to know what this is all about, and it's very important for us to understand what it means for us, and how these ideas are dangerous for our community. So without further ado, let's listen to the new narrative. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Political Agenda, brought to you by New Narrative with me, your host PJ Thum. I'm wearing a blue and white batik shirt, sitting in front of a big white curtain, and my pronouns are he, him. Today we have two founding members of...
I just want to say something, one of the buzzwords or things that you are able to capture to understand a person's idea or philosophy of life or beliefs is to catch keywords. And these keywords will usually kind of explain their overarching perspective on the world. And today, in our time, keyword, look out for pronouns. This guy, he calls himself he, him. I just want to say, he, him. And yeah, so he's a woke fanatic already. Woke ultra left liberalist already. Let's carry on.
Support and advocacy group for queer Muslims, QUASA, with us to talk about their organization. But before we get into that, this podcast is brought to you by New Narrative, a movement for democracy in Southeast Asia. Please do support us by joining as a member at newnarrative.com/join or donating at newnarrative.com/donate. Okay, so QUASA is a peer support group for queer Muslims. We have two founding members, Irie and Muhammad, who are here with us today. Irie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Irie and I am a community organizer. My pronouns are they, them, and I am wearing a dark green kabaya.
Like, why is that important, Irie? Why is your dark green kabaya important to know? Is that to show that you are Malay? That you have Malay roots? I don't think Malay people have like blonde hair, do they? Anyway, and also, Irie, like, this is very important for us to understand, like, for you to understand, is that in the Quran, Allah says that He built everything in pairs. Everything is in pairs, male and female, and there's only two genders or two sex in Islam. There's no separation between gender and sexuality or identity. So to believe there is something more, a third or fourth or fifth or sixth, is contrary to the Islamic perspective, and it's not what we believe. So it's something very important, and it's something which, a belief which is not within the Islamic paradigm. Let me give you an example. A person says, I'm a Christian, but he doesn't believe in Jesus. Is he a Christian? He's not a Christian, even though he calls himself a Christian. But what defines a Christian is a set of beliefs. And what a Muslim is defined by what God and Allah and His Messenger has said about these things. So just for other people who non-Muslims who watch this video, it's very important for you to understand that our ideas are theological. These ideas are not about most of what these people say. It's a theological perspective. That within our set of beliefs, in our set of beliefs, there are these things that we believe there are only two genders. And to believe there is a third is something which is contrary to our faith. So it's very important to understand. And the fact that she has called herself they, them, tells you already, like, where is this coming from? What is the idea around it? And also, another thing that PJ Tam said earlier, is an advocacy group. What is an advocacy group? An advocacy group is basically something which is advocating for for something. And what are they advocating for? They are advocating for queerism within Islam. Important note is to understand what is queer. People are using this. They are using these terms now. They don't say LGBT no more. They say queer, because LGBT is only for queer, whatever this term is not confined to four. As we know, in some states, countries like Canada, they have hundreds of identities. I've seen people who identify videos of people who identify as a man. He's a biological man, but identify as a woman, biological woman who identify as a man. And there's also biological men who identify as a woman and also a wolf. They call themselves wolfitarian. So there is no limit to this idea of queerness. Queerness, the definition of queerness is something which is unique, something which does not fit the norm, something which goes against normative perspective. They are not within their famous the most used word. One of the most used words are social constructs. So this is what they say. So it's very important for you to understand. So what they are saying is that you cannot put them anywhere. They're not male, they're not female, they're not this, not that. They are they, them. That's what queer means. And it's very interesting because this idea is nafs. From an Islamic perspective, it's nafs. And there's only one thing, there's only one situation or one instance where is not bounded by a binary. And it's Allah. Allah has no sex. Allah has no gender. And these people who wants us to accept their non-binariness is because they have made gods out of themselves. They want the right to self-determine what they are and who they are. They are not bounded by reality. They're not bounded by objective truths. What is objective truth? Is that a man is a biological man because they have biological parts. And if 100 years this man is buried into the ground, 200 years, 300 years, someone digs up their grave, takes out their bones, they will still know that it is a man. That is the truth. But these people, they will say no such thing. I will tell you what I am. So this is a very important one. We carry on.
Hello, my name is Muhammad, and I'm the religious advisor for QUASA. I'm wearing a white shirt, but I'm not present in the camera.
Yes, so for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll notice you can only see two of us, Irie and myself. Mohammed is off camera and has asked to remain anonymous. So, Mohammed, would you like to talk about why you've chosen to be anonymous today?
It's more to protect my family rather than myself.
Yeah, right, Mister. I'm not gonna use that name uh, to refer to this person. It's not befitting to use this name, such a noble name on such a person. We'll call him Mr. Religious Advisor for now. So, Mr. Religious Advisor, he calls himself the Religious Advisor for this queer group called QUASA. And let's listen. Let's listen to why he says. He said, "I'm not gonna show myself not because of myself, but because of my family." Let's see.
I came from the religious industry, and my whole family is in the religious industry. And I hope this also highlights the extent to which the lack of queer rights in Singapore has an effect on real world harm or real world effect. For people like us.
Can I just ask, like, what kind of
So, Mr. Religious Advisor for this group called QUASA, family comes from a religious background or the religious industry, and he is protecting them by not showing himself. This is another example of the crazy perspective these people have. They think the whole world revolves around them. They think that I am the cause of this entire reality. I just want to tell you, Mr. Religious Advisor, that no one really cares. And I believe that hopefully, inshallah, that your family members who are in the religious industry are sincere people and who are people who are teaching because they believe and live for the faith. I believe that people will understand that things like this happen. Look at Nabi Noah. You should know that's religious advisor. That we do not. There is no guarantee on our offsprings. And I'm sure your family will believe that too. Of course, they will be sad, but what can they do? In actual fact, what it actually means is that you are a coward, Mr. Religious Advisor, and you are masking this with a moral superiority, with a moral excuse to hide your cowardness because you have no backbone to show your real self. I read here, wearing the green kabaya. She's more braver than you. She seems like she's proud out there wearing her green kabaya, showing how courageous she is to stand up for her day-damn perspectives. She doesn't care. Her she doesn't mind to be out there to advocate for things which are contrary to religion, even though she's wearing a green kabaya. But you, Mr. Religious Activist or Religious Advisor, you're a coward. So don't pretend and say that you are hiding behind you're hiding yourself, your identity, to protect your family. You're just protecting yourself. And all you are doing is claiming victimization. That's all you do. That's all these people do. It's always people's problem. It's always someone else's problem. It's always someone else is doing something to me. I'm innocent. I'm the one who is being traumatized. I. And don't lie. It's all about you, bro. Mr. Religious Advisor.
clash would they get if the community learned that one of their family members was queer? Like, would it be like they would be shunned or worse?
Yeah, it could be worse. It has gone to the point of physical threats
Wow.
and violent threat online. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm choosing to remain anonymous. But If it's not a physical threat, then it's a threat to one's livelihood, because as I've mentioned, my family is in the religious industry, so their bread and butter are from the religious industry.
Mr. Religious Advisor, just to say, just that like the we have seen bapos within our society for many years, many years. People are okay with it. We recognize their existence. They have always existed. We recognize that they're there. But what you represent is something very different, Mr. Religious Advisor. You represent a counter narrative. You represent something which is contrary to the deen. But what you are doing is attempting to change and force people to accept your religious, your perversions. And in our perspective, the Islamic perspective, perversions, to accept it and to say it's halal, to say it's okay, to say that it's acceptable within the deen. This is what you're doing. It's very different. You must understand it's a very different situation. And also, come on, the fact that we have seen so many, seen now experience bapos, no one's gonna harm you, especially not in Singapore. No one cares. Don't think too highly of yourself, Mr. Religious Advisor. Don't think too highly of yourself. You are nothing. Why do you think you are something? Why do you think that the whole world revolves around you? People will just get angry at you for 2-3 days. Probably your family gets a bit upset, for a while. People asking them why. And your parents and your family members can just say this guy is deviated. What can I do? Haven't we seen in the Quran there are deviants, children within even this family of even a prophet's son could be a deviant. Even the prophet's wife can be a deviant. We've seen this in the Quran. So it's nothing new. Don't make yourself feel so special. We know it's a possibility. People know. People will accept. Like, fine. Unfortunately, these people have such a person, and they won't blame your family members. Don't worry. Really, don't blame. They won't blame them. It's you, and you are afraid. You're a coward, Mr. Religious Advisor. You want to have your cake, and you want to eat your cake. You want to have both of it, but you are too coward. You're too afraid to show yourself. And you are masking yourself behind people attacking you, violent threats. Come on, bro. Come on, don't lie.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And God will take care of your family, bro.
For,
Don't worry.
you for your courage for coming
Allah
on
will
this,
take care.
saying that
He is Ar-Razak. He will take care of your bread and butter
very,
of your family industry.
we appreciate you coming on Political Agenda. So let's get straight into what is QUASA. Irie, would you like to tell us what is QUASA and what do you do?
So QUASA, as mentioned, is a peer support and advocacy collective. And what we really want to do is create a safe space where queer Muslims feel comfortable, exploring both spirituality and sexuality. Because what we realized was that there are just no queer spaces in which people feel comfortable, exploring, okay, I might be a bit more spiritual or religious. I want to pursue a different lifestyle that isn't just clubs. And that's not really available. There's no information there. But if queer people do decide this is the path that they want to take, they can't exactly turn up at your nearest masjid, It's not a very queer-friendly space. In many places, it's violent. And so we wanted to be that kind of middle ground where we see you as you are.
Thank you, Lady Irie with the green kabaya. Few things here. Number one, what is QUASA? As she has mentioned, they are advocacy group. And what is an advocacy group is they are creating, and they say they are creating safe spaces. And this is one of the buzzwords, guys. Buzzwords, to know if someone is somewhat influenced by the leftist, ultra liberal woke ideas, is that they will use terminologies like this: safe space, trauma, violent, and all these kind of terms. They have actually bastardized these words to fit their woke ideas. Anyway, so what is an advocacy group? An advocacy group is basically a group which is there to promote a certain idea. And so what these people are doing is they wanna, and she was mentioning, they wanna guide people through it, and a peer support. So what a peer support is that these people who have maybe this kind of ideas, that they have this kind of urges, what these people will do is they will gather, this QUASA group will gather these people around, bring them in, and then give them the moral support, the peer support to go through this experience, and to give them the religious and spiritual guidance to understand where they are and what they should do. And then she carries on to say that the masjid is not a safe space for queers. It's a violent space. It's this. I just wanna like, what do you expect? Okay, this is one thing you have to make it clear. Like, if a person who has these tendencies and they go to a masjid, and then they take their ablution, take their wudu, and then they go into the mosque and they pray and ask Allah to help them and get them out of this situation they're in and the difficulty they're facing, and give them strength to go overcome these perversions. The mosque is a safe space for them, for sure. I've seen it. I've met these people in the mosque who faces these challenges, who is facing these challenges, and they are not young guys. They are maybe in their 40s, but they recognize that is not acceptable, and so they are working and consistently struggling to overcome these challenges. And alhamdulillah, some of them succeed. But how can this place be a problem for anyone, for such a person? How can a masjid not be, in their perspective, a safe space or a violent space? Imagine someone does this. Imagine you go into a Hindu temple and you bring in a cow. And then you say, everybody, I want you to start eating cows. What do you think? What do you think, Irene Green Kabaya? You think that's acceptable? Of course it's not. How can you force people to accept your perversions, your ideas, which is contrary to their beliefs, and then tell them that when they reject you and they say no, and they say we don't want to accept these things here, you say they are violent and they are not a safe space? How can it be a safe space? This is really, like, and the best part, they know it's contradictory. They know it's not fitting in, but because I want it, I am non-binary people, I don't identify according to social norms or social constructs or normative Islamic perspective, I determine what is right and what is wrong. And this is postmodernism. And this is the problem that we are facing in today's society, is postmodernism. And postmodernism is we'll speak about it later on, but postmodernism is this thing where they deconstruct everything and they create their own ideas of what is and what is not. So there's no truth no more. There's no such thing as absolute truth. The Quran, subjective, you can go to any verse and you can interpret it yourself. They will create their own interpretations of what is right and what is wrong, and you people who hold on to the religion have no say about it, that you cannot do it. And if you force and you say you cannot, you are abusive, you are violent, and you are going against our rights as queers, people. And this is it, and you will see a pattern with this lady. She will show a very, very clear pattern of what she is. So as we watch on, let's go.
You don't have to be a perfect Muslim. I'm definitely not. But we welcome you and all your struggles, and we understand where you've been, and we want to.
And sorry, Miss Irene, I just have to say one more thing. Like, every single Muslim is going through struggles. What are you talking about? Every single Muslim is going through a struggle. We are all not perfect Muslims. Only the Prophet ﷺ is the perfect human being. We are nowhere perfect. We are going through struggles, difficulty, challenges all the time. But what is the difference here? The Muslim is a person who recognizes these challenges, who recognizes these wrongs, and works his way to overcome it. But you and your kaum Lut tells us that no, these perversions that I have is okay and is valid, and that you should accept me no matter how it is. If you say that it's wrong and that you want to work your way out of it and to come to the fold of the Islam which we've inherited through 1400 years, which holds that this kaum Lut practices is haram and is not within, and it's not acceptable within religion, and ijma' from consensus from the start of Islam to now, the majority of Muslims agree that this is the truth. If you want to accept that that is the right position, objectively, not subjectively, objectively, then you're welcome. Everyone's welcome. But if you say that no, I want to be able to identify no matter how I want, and you must still accept me, I'm sorry, Miss Green Kabaya. That's not possible.
build that safety for you, build that community.
To add to Irie's answer, it's also in the name, QUASA. We changed K to Q. So QUASA in Malay means power. And we realized that majority of the, especially minority Muslim support groups, cater around healing or cater around trauma-based support groups.
Trauma,
Whereas for us,
healing.
we wanted to also focus on post-reconciliation within your sexual identity and your religious identity, and also create not just a safe space but an empowering space for people to express their religious identity as well. And we realized there isn't a space for that because it's all
So you heard it from the horse's mouth, or Mr. Religious Advisor mouth, that what they are doing is creating an environment of post reconciliation of these perversions. What does that mean? It means it's creating a space and giving you understandings and perspectives to tell you that it is alright, that you can be this and this at the same time. You can say that Islam allows for these ideas to be there. You can, don't think it's wrong. It's not wrong. For you, it's right. You can have whatever perspective that you want, and no one can take that away from you. And you can say this is the truth. It's your truth. You have all the empowerment you need from us. So what this is a group which is advocating for this perspective, and they are creating activists, people who will infiltrate the society and come out with all of this woke liberal nonsense and feed it into the society. And if our children, if our community is not well versed in this idea, they will be swept by the social perversion and trends of the world, which we are inheriting from Western civilization. We are inheriting this rubbish from the Western world, you know. And you can just listen by Lady Kebaya's accent, you know. She has a very distinct accent. I'm not sure what it is, but you know, you can see, even like and you see this, you know, people who are very attracted to the Western world, they will inherit all of these ideas, and this is what they're doing. So this is what QUASA is an empowerment group, like their name represents, Q, it represents queerness, to empower people who are feeling confused or do not know what does this mean. Is this allowed, not allowed, because of all the garbage there is in the world. And this group will advocate and tell them that you will determine what you want to be is right. You will determine. If you want to say it's okay, I have all the avenues and all the resources. And what do you think? In a group of 20 people, example, 10 people, 15, 9 of them says, I am Muslim and I am gay, example. You think that a guy who's confused on the fence will say, no, it's wrong? Of course not. What kind of... It's peer pressure. So it's an activist group, you know. So this is what QUASA is. So if you guys, it's something important for you guys to know and to speak against, that these groups have no place within the society. And we must speak out against it, speak to our community leaders about it, speak to our political leaders about it, and share with them our disapproval. Share with them our disapproval of such advocacy and such ideas to infiltrate our Muslim society, and what protection is there for our community to not allow such ideas to penetrate, and not to allow people who are from Western societies, who are from these liberal woke societies, to come into our nation, who has built such a rich Islamic heritage, who has served the community for many years, to not allow such destructive ideas to penetrate into our society. We see the products of this disaster in America, where you see communities destroyed because of this idea. You see European countries which is destroyed by this idea. What else do we need? What more proofs do we have? We see that societies with such perversions, the number of STDs there in the society is massive. Why? We ask why. And we want to allow such people to come into our society and say that this is okay, and to force, and it's easy because they are all under this woke liberal West bandwagon, which is heavily supported by the media, heavily supported by this moralistic perspective, this false false liberal moralistic ideas of what is right and what is wrong. They will just jump on this bandwagon and they're promoted, you know. And this is what it is, you know. So yeah, let's carry on.
Always been focused about your sexual identity or your gender identity. We want to provide a platform where you can discuss about how to identify yourself as a queer and Muslim, or
See?
as a Muslim who just happens to be queer, which also is also a holistic approach. So we have a mental health branch of the organization as well. Yeah.
So how big is your organization right now?
So the founding members of QUASA, there are about 6 of us.
Right.
And then what we actually planned to do right before the pandemic cut in was to start different chapters. So, I think specifically when we look at young queer people who have no idea how to navigate any of this, whether it's their queerness or their religious, relationship with religion, we wanted to be able to kind of guide them through that.
She want to guide.
We wanted to start chapters
This fella want to guide.
you would get an introduction and orientation within the community that you could feel safe with, and then also give them kind of the the 101 on mental health,
Mm.
on spiritual health,
Spiritual
on
health.
just so many different things that come with being queer that no one guides you on, and you
Yeah. This
have to find
Green
it out
Kabaya.
for yourself, and it's often a very
She wants to
lonely
guide
process and
people.
do it alone.
So basically is guys, coming up from the Green Kabaya's mouth is that they are an activist group. They are indoctrinating people with these ideas. Whoever that comes to them, bring them in, indoctrinate them, and make them into activists. Make them into people who will start promoting these ideas. And people who, and the Muslim community, if you do not know the importance and understanding of what is right and what is wrong for yourself based on Islam, and because you inherit the religion and you do not know why this religion is important, what do you think will happen? And yeah, come on, religious scholars or leaders in our society in Singapore, it doesn't help when you start penalizing normative Islamic principles within society. And with, recently, when they have attacked a local ustaz and demonizing in the public, embarrassing him in the public, and saying that he called hateful words when he was just speaking and just advocating normative Islam, which has been there for 1,400 years, giving the people the understanding of what right is wrong, and you penalize him and you disparage him and you ridicule him in the public like that. I mean, I think it's important that the Muslim community in Singapore, that you should go to your MPs, your members of parliament, speak to them about your fears, your challenges, and what you worry for your Muslim community a lot. It's very important that we need to speak to our members of parliament, speak to our government directly, because I believe that they will really understand where we come from when we speak to them directly and not through such institutions. It's very important because at the end of the day, our government, the Singapore government, is the one who will listen and they can exact change. Right.
Because our main focus is peer support. So our day-to-day operations is really responding to DMs on Instagram, to queries, and just a peer chat. Because it's nice to have someone who can relate to you. It's not easy to find friends who happens to be queer within the Muslim community, let alone one that is open to.
I'm gonna skip this area. It's about.
Because of the pandemic, essentially visibility.
It's not so important.
isn't present. People aren't aware that you can be both these things at once.
Okay, this is back.
Resources, as we talked about.
Okay.
Essentially,
So this basically they were gonna do their propaganda pandemic, and she blames the pandemic.
to host these chapters, with that couldn't happen. And so we've been focusing on the last 2 years on creating these resources, as we talked about, mainly because to begin with, that visibility isn't present. People aren't aware that you can be both these things at once.
No, I'm
and
sorry.
beyond
I'm
that,
sorry.
creating-
I'm sorry. Green Abaya, you cannot be those two things in one. You can't. You cannot to repeat this again, just in case you didn't listen to the first part. I'm gonna ask you. This is to give you perspective of what this is. Can I be a Christian if I don't believe in Jesus? No. Can I be a Buddhist and I don't believe in the Buddha? Can I be a Singaporean and not have the Singaporean citizenship? Can I be a human being and yet say that I'm a horse? You can't. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. You cannot. It is inherent in the belief structure that you cannot be both things at once. You cannot have your cake and eat it at the same time. It doesn't work like that. Sorry, Irene. Green Kabaya. It doesn't work like that.
That awareness, I think, is also creating that trust within the community, because there's just so much violence on both sides that
Yeah.
you never really know who you can
Violence.
trust. So that peer support function is very important.
Always
Especially
violent.
we recognize that, you know, we are not qualified or trained therapists, and so we have to be mindful that as much as we want to support you, there are limits to what we can do for you.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question about trust, because, you know, Mohammed, you're not even willing to come on, for very good reason, of course, to be seen. So how do you create trust in these environments where you have random people reaching out to you through your DM saying, oh, I need advice or help? How do you then ensure the safety of the people who are already on the inside and filter and ensure that it's not, you know, someone just trying to investigate or find out who you are or break that trust?
That's always a constant challenge. Whenever we try to organize an event, we always feel the need to filter because we do face trolls on a daily basis. And
Sian.
people
Poor
do
thing.
sabotage our cause,
Poor thing you.
no matter how noble they are.
Noble cause.
What we try to do is
Guys, this is the mental breakdown. What else is there? What else do we need to hear? This person thinks that is a noble cause to push in kufur perspective within religion. These people believe what kufur is, disbelieving perspective into the religion. What they want to do is change and destroy the Islamic perspective, and for people to accommodate and force people to accommodate to their perspective of what is right and wrong. This guy, this religious advisor, calls it a noble cause. To be a person who is promoting kufur is a noble cause. No matter how, you know, there are so many trolls. Poor me, poor thing. Oh, poor thing. I'm promoting a noble cause. I'm advocating for a noble cause, and yet so many trolls. Why trolls? Why?
have a filter of who would be able to attend any of our events, whether online or offline. And then with regards to establishing trust amongst our own community, we are more of like, we don't just subscribe to one agenda or one, you know, narrative. We provide several narratives that you can choose. You know, there's no one Islam in our opinion. You can
You see, you heard it from the advisor's mouth. They don't subscribe to one agenda. What is an agenda? And they don't subscribe to one narrative of Islam. They believe there's no one narrative of Islam. Guys, like, this is important. We need to build a defense against these ideas. When you hear these words, when you hear the word narrative, when you hear all these kind of terminologies, brace yourself. Know that this person is coming in with ideas which is trying to destroy your faith. This is what they're doing. They're trying to destroy your faith, cloud your understandings of what is right and wrong, and to promote an idea which is contrary to our religious perspective. This is the problem. And it's clear that this person does not believe in a normative perspective. He is advocating for counter narratives, counter ideas, counter understandings, which is not what we have been having for the past 1,400 years. And what this is that there are some things within our religion that Allah is one. There's the final messenger of the Prophet ﷺ, and then comes along with it our entire hadith, the sunnah of the Prophet, the mazhabs, the belief systems, and along with these belief systems is our understanding of what is a man and what is a woman, and what it means to be those two different things, and why is it important to understand these two different things. It is in one whole package. But what these people are bringing is a counter, an anti of these ideas, and what they want you to accept, and what you force you, and if you don't, then you are violent, and you're causing trauma, and you're abusive.
choose to express your religious identity to whatever,
Yeah,
to
see?
however you wish.
However you
we
wish.
can help you provide with resources.
So this is the fitna mongers.
Identity of this, the expression.
Mm.
So, like we
So example, like they say you can be a Muslim and yet identify as a horse, trans horse, or you can be Muslim and identify as you are a trans horse cow. We will give you the resources, all the resources you need. We have the resources to navigate and guide you to understand and how to post reconciliation of your identity as your identity as a Muslim trans horse woofitarian. Yeah, that's what it means.
be the editor for this identity, because the point is to provide a platform, not just one narrative. Yeah.
So recently we actually hosted a QUASA.SG. The moment the restrictions lifted, we were like, okay, we have to do something. And so for the very first time, we had a supper with 10 people that we all.
Okay, this guys, I'm gonna forward this. Not so important.
Yeah, so that
Basically, she called people to come to her house, that kind of stuff.
Roles, we're doing like a sort of interview. So we will be joining a Telegram link, for example.
Alright, so they do their field. This is
for
basically.
online events. So
Mhm.
we would include a Telegram link, for example, and then we'll be doing like a sort of interview of who will be joining. So for our recent Quran class, we did a filtering process.
Hey, Muiz. This ultra left woke people are conducting Quran classes. Do they need ARS to conduct Quran class? What do you think? What do you think, guys? Should they have ARS to conduct this and to promote ultra left woke kufur understanding of Islam? Do you need it?
So we've gotten quite a good SOP in terms of our online.
She's so happy, Zaidi, eh? Always nodding.
We can better manage, who will be attending our events, and also those who are participating also want to feel that they can feel safe being in our online events, so they won't feel that someone is
Look her.
targeting them. So we do have to put up an SOP of filtering trolls and people who just are bad actors. Yeah.
Bad actors.
Mohammed, can I pick up on one thing you said, which I think is a question a lot of people listening, especially non-Muslims listening, will have, which is the compatibility of Islam and being queer, right? I guess the obvious
Guys,
question is
drum rolls.
To that is there are.
Yeah.
It's not about can you. There are. Whenever people say could you be, what the answer is mute. The question is mute. There are. So now move on to the next.
Wow. Such empowering words by a religious advisor. It's not about whether you can, it's about how. Of course there is. This is where they are, guys. This is where this ultra liberal Islamic ultra liberals have gone. This is where they are at. They are at this place where they are promoting, and they are not even saying where it is compatible. They say, of course it is. It is definitely for sure. But how? Now is the kufur starts, The kufur starts when they say yes. And now let us teach you the kufur. Let us show you how this kufur is done. This is how the kufur is done. Of course there is. So he did it so empowering. Look at how Irene is smiling. Look at her. Yes. It's not about whether you can. It's about how. The question is mute. Move forward.
It's how. That's what we're trying to focus on.
Right.
How are you going to be a queer and Muslim at the same time? If you look back in history, Muslims in the past, well, arguably they don't really, have the same conception of homosexuality as we do. they've already managed to do so. You know, same-sexness is not a new thing in humanity, right? What is new is just, you know, the modern period with laws and etc. But now we haven't had a space to ask or to question the how.
Let me just tell you, Military Advisor, the Muslims do not reject the idea that there has been these people throughout history. We are not idiots. Okay? We are not idiots, bro. We recognize there has always been homosexuals. We recognize there's always people, financial elite people who will try to corrupt the economy. We recognize there are always people who like to murder. We recognize the possibility of people who will try to oppress other people. We recognize all of this throughout human history. And in the Quran, Allah gave us, and the Sunnah Prophet, and in the Sunnah, the Prophet gave us the guidelines of how to manage this human injunctions which we are tested for in this world. We do not avoid that reality. If we avoid it, we wouldn't even mention in the Quran. Allah mentions this, the Qawm Lut, in the Quran many times. In Surah Araf, so many times. What are you talking about that is not out there? We know is there. But the difference is this. Most of these people recognize that it's wrong. And they are working to overcome these difficulties. Just like a person who might be a normal person who have desires of the opposite sex, might have inclination to do things more than is what halal. Their job is to control it. Person who have the desire to steal, control it. Person who have a desire to murder, control it. The person who desires to have bestiality, you have it, control it. The person who have same sex desires, control it. It's been there. But what you are saying is different. You are not saying control it. You say let it loose. Do as you please. It's not about whether you can, as you say, religious advisor. You say how.
Which is where QUASA is trying to come in.
Yeah,
Every time you
shaitan.
see that picture, then it's all going back to the Quran and the Hadith and the religion, or whether is possible or not. But that question is really mute because there already are queer Muslims on the ground, and yeah, you're not providing a platform for them to like better express themselves holistically.
Yeah, so let the Muslims who like to do adultery, give them a platform. The Muslims who likes to drink alcohol, give them a platform. The Muslims who like to eat pig, give them a platform. Who are you to stop them? Don't be. This is how ridiculous these people think. So I'm just really worked out because it's just. I'm not worked out. I'm passionate about it because it's such. It's no words to describe these guys, you know. They are so blinded by their carnal desires, this nafsu amara, that they are willing to break everything and force people to accept their ideas, which is foreign and contrary to the religion. Let's listen to what else he says.
So the question of how then when people ask, and what do you can you summarize a response?
So, I mean, as usual, you have the moderate Muslims, conservative Muslims, and you also have progressive Muslims, right? That's sort of pretty much the I want to say spectrum, but you could say spectrum. So you could argue that it is a test. You could argue that it is a sin. You could argue anyways, right? At the end of the day, what does your conscience tell you?
Yeah, so guys,
And that's where
so this is a very key point. This is an idea, this is a postmodernist, is that there are so many different perspectives. There is no absolute right. You choose your right. You have the power to choose what is right. You don't have to submit to anyone's interpretation of what is right and what is wrong. You choose what is right and wrong for you. So what does it mean? That any interpretation of what the Prophet ﷺ say can be interpreted to how you want it to be. what Allah says in the Quran, you can interpret it to how you want to be. You define your own religion. Is this Islam? Islam means submission, bro. Islam means submission. Submission to what? To the will of God. Means that every test, every inclination, every desire, every challenges that you go through, that is contrary to your wants, your desires, what you think is good, you submit yourself to Allah. What are you doing? What are you promoting? Your conscious? What conscious are you talking? Your nafsu ammara bisu? Yeah.
That expression of your sexuality.
Sexuality, religious identity.
So if you say that it is a test, so let's have a harmonious view of it then, so you don't, doesn't lead you to like self-hatred and like other mental health issues, right? If you see that this is something that is possible in Islam, and you could also argue that no matter
See?
how the conservative Muslim wants to argue that, I mean, homoeroticism was really a part of like Islamic poetry and literature for
This is utter rubbish. They find some poems talking about relationships between a man who in love with his teacher. They call it this eroticism. These guys see everything sexualized, even if the text do not mean that. They will mean it like that. They will force that ideas into it. A man who is in love with his sheikh, who is willing to do everything for his sheikh, who is willing to let go of his life for his teacher, he say, men and men. What else could it be? What else could it be, guys? Haven't you seen that the Sahaba jumped in front of the Prophet when arrows were coming to him? How they will interpret that.
centuries, right? You could also argue that, and we're here to tell you, okay, so how are you going to conceptualize that in this modern period, right? And then then you're gonna have to talk about family, you have to talk about relationship, you have to talk about love, you have to talk about bearing children. But the point is, we haven't gone past the reconciliation part because we're still there. But the thing is, people are still continuing living.
I-
Life continues. Meaning are still being made right now. So where's the help and support for that? You get it? Where's the platform?
There is already, bro. There is already.
Yeah.
There is people
To
who do this.
what we see a lot of is that there is so much hypocrisy in the Islamic community. There is so much,
Look at this green kabaya girl. Look at this green kabaya girl. Hypocrisy of the Muslim society.
Sexual assault. There is a lot of religious abuse. There's a lot of
Throw your religion on the bus.
that's going on. And
Yeah.
even when you think about poverty and homelessness and all of that, our religious institutions are not actually really focusing on those issues, and yet they want to talk about queerness as in. They want to talk about all of these things that just don't tally. It doesn't make sense. Like, why is this the issue when you know very well that your own children, are also being a bad Muslim on other terms? They're just not queer. So why is that, the struggle? And as much as, and I think for a lot of founding members, we are not perfect Muslims either. We have that struggle, we have that questioning, but we felt that it was very, very important that you get to come as you are, and that you get to reconcile on your own terms, whether or not you choose to say that you are Muslim, because it's the journey. It is.
So, Miss Irene Green Kabaya, if the Muslim community for you is so hypocritical, why do you still want to be part of it? Why are you still forcing people? How can you with your the Muslim community, such a hypocritical community, with all its religious abuse, with all of its violence and all of this kind of stuff, no one's perfect. How can you still talk about queerness? Why you bother? Like you can. There's an Ahmadi Qadiani mosque in Singapore. Do you know that? Like, do your own mosque. Call it the queer mosque if you want to. I mean, we have Singapore is open to that things, but be clear. Don't force this stuff on us. We don't want it. We disagree. The majority of the Muslims know that this is not part of our religion. So don't force your identities upon us. We don't we is not within our religion to accept it. So don't force it on us. And if it's so hypocritical, as you said, and you'll see a theme with this green kabaya girl, is that she will very happily throw the Muslims under the bus, stamp on their face, ridicule them to this woke, liberal, leftist agenda, speak to the about it to the public, and call how stupid the Muslim community is. Is that what you are? You stamp on their face, you step on their face, you spit on them, and then you say, I am the beacon of light for this Muslim community. You speak to the non-Muslim community and say, look at me, I'm the moral victors, the moral beacons of light of this community. And then you want these people to accept you? You step on them, you spit on them, and you want people to accept you? Come on, Green Kabaya. What are you talking about?
Is that journey of finding out, and there's just no grace and gentleness that we see elsewhere.
Find your grace and gentleness somewhere else lah.
People have this conception that queer Muslim groups or rather queer groups is always talking about sex. It's kind of very interesting because I've attended quite a few.
I just want to tell you, I'm gonna make a clip of this to show you how many times religious advisor guy is talking about sex. Okay, we'll show you.
Quite a number of queer Muslim groups all over the world, and it's always about meaning. It's always about religion. It's always about finding love, or it's always about one's relationship with God. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Follow shaitan lah,
Nobody
basically.
talks about sex in these meetings. So
What's
that was
there to
when
talk
I
about,
realized
bro?
that we needed to create a
You're already doing it.
about that.
Is finding ways to accept it.
Talk about the
Yeah.
reconciliation, because
Yeah.
we are,
Is
you know,
is to be numb, is to feel numb and feel it is okay to continue doing kaum lut practices. And find it spiritually uplifting that you are able to do that. That's what it is. What's the point of talking about sex when everybody knows you're already doing it? Come on, bro.
the thing to add to Iris' point is because we are a scarecrow, right? Oh look, we're sort of like a measure.
Puting,
straw man.
kesian.
We are like, oh,
Shame.
this is the measure of like one's nation's faith. For example, in Egypt, when Muslim Brotherhood came
Victims.
power, right? The first group of minorities that they targeted were the LGBTQ Muslims, right?
Victims.
To showcase, that they are the authority on the religious authority, that they are sort of savior of the religion.
The whole world, every Muslim society in the world, majority of Muslim society in the world rejects them,
Political
and they don't find anything wrong with it.
So that's what's happening when I say about backlash, right? It's always a showcase of, okay, this is why we are targeting them, because it showcases that we are protecting the religion.
And we're superior.
Yeah, that we are superior. But then there are also other issues within the mainstream community.
Their video got jammed here.
To the religion as a theology, but it's not being as addressed or not as visible. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean.
Easy target. LGBTQ Muslim minority.
Rubbish.
Easy target. Yeah.
What do you think that is? I mean, I have my suspicions, but I'm interested in what you'd have to say. Why is it LGBTQ Muslims are the target when it's so hard to you look at someone, you can't tell whether they're LGBTQ. There's no way to know, and it's such an inconsequential thing. What difference does it make whether you're LGBTQ or not, right? Why isn't the dividing line for trying to prove you're a good Muslim being more something like, how much have you donated?
Say, look, do all this moralistic
How much
perspective,
fed the poor?
you know,
How
all of
much
this
have
moral, like
those
these
people
humanistic
themselves?
ideas, you know,
Why
like
is it
like
is it just because it's easy to target such a small invisible minority?
And less noisy minority.
less noisy. These guys are really.
I'm here without wanting to go on camera.
You are not on camera because you are a coward, Mr. Religious Advisor. Please get that across. You are a coward. You know, you want to have your cake and you want to eat it as well. You know, it's just basically you are not on camera because you're a coward. You are not noisy. What are you talking about? Uh, that's really stupid.
To talk about queer rights in Islam, who in their right mind would want to go all out
He knows.
being a public advocate for queer Muslims and not being afraid. Yeah, so sorry, I but like
Yeah, he knows. He knows he's a freaking coward. This guy, he knows he's a coward. Religious advisor guy, you're a coward. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Seriously, what are you talking about? Yeah, you are not showing yourself. Accept it. Man up. Have some backbone. Have the courage. Your family will be okay. You will just be ostracized. You're just protecting yourself. Don't pretend you're protecting your family. Okay? You don't show this moral high ground that I am a savior, protecting my family, and not and at the at the at the at the difficulty and the struggle of hiding myself or my true identity because I want to protect my family. No, don't lie. You know, don't lie. You know, you can lie to yourself, but you have just proven that Irene has more balls than you.
you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Also, not a lot of us are privileged. Do not come from privileged backgrounds.
Keyword
Come from
privilege.
many, factors come from different factors. So there's so many different reasons why we are an easy target. And why
Poor thing.
we are always the
Poor
target
victims.
for anything.
Yeah, victims.
The history of queer Muslims. I mean, it's a very rich history. It's not like you've just suddenly appeared out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Whether, first of all, the Muslims in the past really actually do identify themselves as queer Muslims, as queer. What does queer even mean? Considering that it was a different epistemology of gender ontology, we even argue that they actually were, queer, right?
Right.
Or were they simply viewing everything as their right to love whoever, whomever, right? But the point is that there's something there. There's a reference there. There's a heritage.
Yes, there is a heritage.
However
Kaum Lut
view,
heritage.
whatever lens do you-
That's what it
you
is.
view it from,
Kaum Lut heritage.
and that heritage is being tapped on
Tap onto
by
the carnal desires
queer
of
identities
Kaum Lut
as they
heritage.
formulate or as they conceptualize their identities right now.
Yeah,
Because it's just not being shared.
not shared.
And there's no participation.
No promotion of Kaum Lut.
Muslim scholars to help or aid in that identification process or that reconciliation process.
If this guy is saying reconciliation process is that you are helping your this Muslim who is facing this same-sex carnal desires out from these same-sex carnal desires and teaching them and giving them avenues to come out of it, there is already. But what you want is something very different. Understand? It's not the same.
So there's a lot of censorship happening, in general, especially in the Islamic religious industry, when it comes to manuscripts and when it comes to our religious heritage. You have what's supposed to be normative Islam versus possible Islam or different narratives of Islam in the past, and a lot of it right now when you say mainstream Muslim is what mainstream Muslim would like Islam to be, or how it should be, right? And then they would bring
Rubbish.
the argument about ISIS and terrorists. But there's a difference though. ISIS wants to destroy people, whereas queer Muslims wants to love.
ISIS wants to kill people, and queer Muslim wants to love. Queer Muslims wants to have unbridled ability to express their sexuality, pervertic sexual desires. Unbridled is very different. Of course, it's different in the act. One is, doing it, in that place. The other one is killing people. Of course, the act is very different. But in essence, what is it? It is contrary to the religion. So you find that similitude there. It's the same thing as a Muslim who is advocating that alcohol is halal. It's the same thing as well. It's not different. In essence, it is going against what the Prophet, Allah and His Prophet, has said, has proclaimed for us. We do not do things which goes against what Allah and His Prophet has taught us as right, as what is objectively true. So in essence, you guys are the same. Of course, in the act is different. No one's doubting that. But I'm sure, out of these activities that you guys do, some people die, as we will see.
Want the freedom to love whoever they want.
Freedom to love.
Can't use that argument that we need to preserve the religion, to prevent it from being corrupted.
But
by
even
people
in the
like ISIS.
mainstream, there are different debates, right? Because isn't
Exactly.
it, they aren't even religious debates; they're cultural debates. Like, if I remember correctly, Jokowi also said that there was
Wait, you guys can see this. I'm gonna do something here, because I think it's very important that you guys be able to see this. Okay, I'm gonna shift my thing right here first. I want you guys to see this. Okay.
Nusantara Islam,
Mm-hmm.
whereas
Look at
mainstream
Ari
leaders were
laughing.
saying, no, like all Islam is the same around the world, and we need to, we should all conform to the same Islam. So even there's a debate: can Islam be culturally, adapt itself to different cultural contexts?
But when you're a queer Muslim, you're not even invited to the debate table.
Right, yeah.
They don't want to put yourself at the table that you are. So what we're trying to do at QUASA is to provide a platform where you can discuss about it, how you want to formulate it, and then we can help you with resources so you can feel more assured. Because no one has actually reached certitude when it comes to religious conception.
Okay. This is a very important point. I'm gonna go back to my standard normative position for my camera. And sorry, bring kabaya. You are gonna be out of my view for a while. But this guy has said something very important. A very key, important thing for us to understand. What did he say? No one has actually reached certitude when it comes to religious conception, have they? This is postmodernism. What it is that no one is actually sure of their religion. I'm not really sure of whether Islam is true. No one can be really sure. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. It's not as work like that. Iman is based on full conviction, and we do not arrive at full conviction by mere blind faith. What does that mean? It means if that you are born Muslim, and then you inherited the religion, and then you just go on and accepting whatever you have around you and not questioning and coming to understanding of what it means, then you have not arrived certitude. But that is not what you should do. We see this problem happening to people who have inherited religion, not people who have become Muslims. Like people who are converts who have found Islam and then I might be wrong, but it's from what my experience has shown me, is that most of the people who have found Islam, they have a different view of it altogether. You know, like they see what they are. They have come to it with reason, and their faith is not based on inheritance, rather is based on reason first, and that they know. And because of these reasons, because of these things that they have looked at, they have arrived at certainty and yaqeen. Certainty. And it is, you must be certain that Islam is true. If not, you're not Muslim. Like, you cannot be a follower, a blind faith about Islam. It's an impossibility. So people who is our my friends and who's watching these videos, if you have not discovered your religion, of what it means to be a Muslim, you have not come to understanding the reasons of why Islam is true, it's high time that you do. If not, you will not be able to teach your children this certainty which is necessary for them to live their life. And what happens is you create this kind of people as we are watching, and saying things that no one has arrived. No one has actually reached certitude when it comes to religious conceptions. Religion is a concept. It's an idea. It's not real. It's just in our mind. Concepts are ideas that is in our mind. It's not actually in real. Like math. Math is a logical concept. It's not real. It's something that you can come up with your mind, but it's not real. You cannot see numbers. It's not real. It's an idea. It's a concept. God, religion for these people, or this postmodernist, ultra liberal woke people who is trying to put in kufur and teach kufur to our community, for them it's nothing, you know. And these people will also say that all religions is the same, you know. And be careful when you hear these people saying like all religions the same, everybody teach good. This kind of ideas are also problematic. You can be a good Muslim and still do right things in your community. If you are a good Muslim, it does not mean you will go against the norm. It does not mean, it means that you have your values of what is right and wrong, and you want to show these right values for your community, and you will do the right ways to get that done. The correct ways, the ways which our Prophet ﷺ has showed us. He has showed us the best way to enact change in any society. Do not believe that you do not have the capacity to do this. And if a Muslim does it, he will do it in the best way. And what is the best way? He will do it with graciousness. He will do it with kindness. He will do it with pure conviction, not because of us to use the religion, like we see with the Workers' Party, who try to use the religion to ask Raisa, the liar Khan, to use a tudong to promote, encourage the community to accept her. Not that kind, but really for the deen, you know, and they will do it the best way. Do not believe that you cannot do that. You can do it. You know, don't feel shy and be affected by this media propaganda of what being a Muslim is. These people have no certainty of their religion. They have no certainty in it. There's no certainty in anything. They are skeptics. They have no idea of objective truth, and this is why they are doing this. They want to create their own version of Islam, and they want you to force it down your throats to accept it. Carry on.
Can the mainstream Muslim community actually say this is absolutely
Yes.
right, I'm definitely going to heaven
We-
because of what I'm doing right now? Can you absolutely
No human being, no Muslim will say that I will definitely go to heaven, bro. Look, religious advisor guy, you have no idea about what Islam is. You have just proven to us, you just use big jargon words, you have just talked about sexuality, you just use jargon, and you're probably lying about coming from a religious community, family background. You have no religious understanding. No Muslim will ever say that I'm surely going to heaven for sure. We have confidence that we are going to heaven. and we know that heaven is only determined by God's decision, but we can be sure of what is right and what is correct. We have objective truths, something which you, Mr. Religious Advisor, have no idea about.
We say that no one can, right? At the ultimate,
We can.
you rest within the mainstream community or the majority, or because majority of people are doing it, I'm assured that I am on the right path. That's what we want to provide to the queer Muslims, to give them some level of assurance that you don't have to feel a certain way because of
Accept your nafsul amara bisu.
you're born, and these are the resources.
Yeah.
To feel a little bit more assured.
Be assured.
Ultimately, we are all in this together. We're just trying our best to be Muslim. I think in the Quran it says,
You
be
think.
pious or be righteous to God to the best of your capabilities. And that's literally what queer Muslims want to do. People like to talk
I want to
about
show you guys this.
queerness or homosexuality as being
This,
a choice, right? The nature versus nurture debate. But then people forgot that being Muslim is a choice, and we chose to remain Muslims no matter what, you know?
Look at them. You say being queer is a choice. Yes, yeah, it can be true. Being Muslim is also a choice. No one is asking you to stay. If you want to be a Muslim, there are certain rules and regulations that you have to follow. There are certain understandings of what is right and what is wrong within the religion. You cannot have your cake and eat it at the same time. For people who don't understand this, let me give you an easy example for you to understand. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to repeat it again. A person says, I am Christian, but I don't believe in Jesus Christ. Can he be a Christian? Is he a Christian by definition? No. A Buddhist, he says, I'm a Buddhist, but I don't believe in what the Buddha says. Is he a Buddhist? No. By definition, he is not a Buddhist. A person who says, I'm the citizen of Singapore, but he doesn't have a citizenship. Is he a citizen of Singapore? No. By definition, he does not fit into a definitive a definition of what it means to be that. A person, a man with human parts, male parts, says that I am a horse. Is he a horse by definition? No. This is the problem with these people. They do not conform to reality. They live in a fantasy world. A fantasy world which has no ideas, which is just bonkers. An idea of what it means to be a Muslim. You say you have a choice. No one is forcing you, bro. It's okay. It's okay. Lakum dinukum waliyadin. There is no compulsion in this religion. Allah says in the Quran, bro. Religious advisor, don't you know there is no compulsion in this deen, and truth stands clear from falsehood? You choose your truths, right? You don't have to be part of this. No one needs anybody. Islam does not need you. Islam does not need me. I need it. And if you are not willing to want it, you don't have to be part of it, bro. And if you say you are part of it, there are terminologies that you have to accept. There are the right and wrongs that you have to accept. And if you don't accept these things and people say you are not Muslim, hey, how you can say like that? I'm Muslim, what? Look, my name is whoever his name is. Look, my brown skin, I wearing white t-shirt. I'm from a religious industry. I'm Muslim. No, bro. You don't. It's okay. I'm going to tell you, religious advisor of whatever religion you come from, it's okay. It's okay. Lakum dinukum walidin. You have your own religion, and we have our own religion. It's okay. Your family will be fine without you. Have um, be like Green Kabaya. She has more balls than you. She is brave. Who is crazy enough? So you're just a coward, bro. All you are is a coward. And you wanna laud people. You wanna celebrate people declaring their kufur, declaring how they are non-Muslims. How you want to celebrate people, showcasing and proclaiming just like you. You want to bring people into your disbelief. That's what you want to do. This group, QUASA, is empowering group, advocacy group to create, to bring people to join their kufur understanding, to bring people to their disbelief. Same, just the same. Allah said about this, the shaitans like this. We have to call a spade a spade. But if they make tawbah, I just want to make this clear. If these people make change their ways and say apologize and fix the mess that they have done in public and return and say I am sorry, not to us, to the damage you have done, make istighfar to Allah, tawbah, change and make amends of what they do, every single Muslim will bring you in, bro. Everyone will open wide open for you. Arms wide open. Your religious industry family will be hands wide open. But because you don't want that, you want to proclaim loudly on top of hills and bring people down together with you in your kufur. That's what you want. So don't be a coward, religious advisor. That's all you are.
That should be lauded. We feel like QUASA. That should be celebrated.
Celebrate
In
kufur.
Islam, that is celebrated. Despite whatever, you're still remaining faithful to the religion. And that's something that we feel disappointed at times by the Muslim mainstream community.
You step on their
because they're not
face.
recognizing that.
Mm.
When they see us, they only see us as sexual subjects or sexual objects. You over-sexualize us. Yeah, you over-sexualize
Yeah, really, Mr. Religious Advisor. We over sexualize you. Look at what you've been talking about the whole time. You've been just so many instances where you're talking about sex. What are you talking about? Everything is about sex for you. What are you talking about, bro?
All your focus is always about sex, when we are trying to tell you that what we want to talk to you about or what we want to discuss with you about is meaning and living.
And I think there's this I think queer people do this very well. We always
Well, you do very well.
challenge the norm.
Challenge the norm.
We want to rewrite our own stories.
Rewrite your own stories. Create your own meaning.
Queer people do, the way queer people interpret and understand families of choice, marriages and relationships and belonging. That's just how we kind of evolve our relationship to society and want to make it better, not just for ourselves but for other people. And in the same way, we want to do that with Islam.
Yeah.
We choose to believe in an Islam that is much more accepting and graceful than the majority would have you believe.
Yep. So this Green Kabaya Irie wants to bring you all and guide people into the fold of the gracious, or what they call accepting and graceful Islam, and make you accept their perversions as graceful and accepting, and just listen to what she says, loud and clear. Green Kabaya. Loud and clear.
And to really kind of guide people again into that heritage that you're not alone. You have your queer elders. We're not queer elders.
Queer elders.
There are communities, there are people who have made this possible, and you don't have to go through the same kind of like hardship we did, where we were trying to make this meaning alone, and when cut off from the world, no resources, nothing nothing to back us. We want to make that path just easier.
I didn't understand what
this
the hell
trend
she's talking
just
about.
sounds so, in some ways, mundane, right? Everyone wants
Look
meaning.
at look.
Everyone's searching for meaning, for
Always
community,
nodding.
and what you
I
want
don't think
is
she
love,
understands
right? You want
what
to
what
live life with respect,
what
and that
he's
is
talking
just
about.
no different from anyone else. And this whole obsession with sex, I have to wonder whether it's also about policing bodies, policing
This one is PJ Tam's
lives.
after this is boring because
Because
PJ Tam is
fundamentally, we
just
live in a
promoting
country where the government
his woke ultra liberalist perspective that he has against government, and he using these little pawns, these little woke pawns to make accept his ideas, to promote his political agendas, and these clowns are just laughing, smiling as though look at Green and Kabaya, looking at that and say like, very intelligent. I'm agreeing to whatever you say. Look, you just watch. Look.
asserts the right to police our private lives. So I'm curious a bit about the interaction between um, the how queer Muslims are treated, and then the broader social, cultural, political context in Singapore. Um, do you see that very much reinforcing each other, and how the government treats
Sorry
our
guys, I just have to do.
community, both as in this acceptance that the there is something distinctive about your community, but also trying to then impose a certain uniformity on it. All this policing, it feels like this has become almost over the years it's become very acceptable in Singapore for authority to police people, to police how you live, how you act, how you think, in pursuit of certain narratives, right? For the government, it's nation building, it's like economic progress. But then for internally within the communities, that's become then acceptable to,
What is this guy talking about?
social cohesion,
S-
to clarify our identity,
I just want you to see this
to create a distinctive community, to like
What are you on about,
to have a
PJ
community
Tam?
that supports each
What
other.
are you on about?
And then it becomes a debate about what really is um,
Is this the quality of
movement,
Oxford
right?
scholars?
Is it all of us being exactly the same and imposing something on a community so that we have unity, we're all
Look, Green
moving in the
Kabaya.
same direction? Or is it respecting every individual person
I think I
within
should
the
do a
community
counter of how many times she
and
nods.
having them
Ting, 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 ting.
earn like self-determination and agency, right? And then you end up with
Don't pretend you understand lah, Green Kabaya.
what
Don't
happens
pretend.
if other
You
people
don't
have
understand.
self-determination,
What is it? You just heard the word self-definition?
and
You
how do
smile.
resolve that? And historically in Singapore, the answer through the PAP has been to impose something on everyone, and it sounds like the same thing that's happening here. So, yeah, I don't
You
think
don't
it's
pretend you
an
understand.
observation where we keep running into these issues in Singapore because we're not able to talk about issues because everything's imposed. Every issue about identity ends up running into the same problem where stuff's being imposed on you by elites in pursuit of a broader goal. Yeah. So I guess
Okay, guys, I just want you to look at Green Kabaya.
across the border
Um,
next to the biggest Muslim country.
Green Kabaya
How
nodding.
dealt with over there.
I'm gonna skip it, but then it just is not important. So gonna forward this to a more important point that it's gonna talk about.
I always wonder, like, why
Let's
are
go,
we
yeah.
always asking the mainstream Muslim community about what is fair?
So again, I'm gonna reverse this for a bit. He says, I always wonder why we are always asking the Muslim majority, the mainstream Muslim community, or the majority.
Always asking the mainstream Muslim community about what is fair for the minority within the mainstream Muslim community. You don't ask a majority about what should be fair for the minority. There's just bonkers there.
No, Mr. Religious advisor. You are bonkers. You are bonkers. Because what you are saying, in general. Sorry, I'm gonna play this again.
I don't understand how is that.
No, Mr. Religious advisor. You are bonkers. Let me tell you why. What he's saying is this, guys. Like, the normal people of the world, the 99% of people, 90, maybe it might be increasing, but then put it lah, the 95% of the people in this world have to go to these minority groups, which might be, there's so many of people with different perverse perspectives. Some like pedophilia, some like incest, some like homosexuality, some like bestiality. Some like even like to kill, some like to have sex with corpses, with plants, with dead animals, all of these different groups. The majority have to ask these groups, what is fair? You tell me, how should we run society? How should we run society? We need to ask these minorities, these groups with perverse ideas of what is right and what is wrong, or desires which is out of the normal, to ask them, what do you guys want? This idea of total equality is an impossibility. It is a fantasy. These guys are just fueled by, now he's showing his Marxist, neo-Marxist ideas. He is basically what we have here in this religious advisor guy is product of Western universities, and Western universities ideas and agendas. He absorbed it and made meaning of whatever his meaning is. This is what his meaning is, and then he comes to Singapore, pretends to be from a religious industry, and then he pulls in this poor green kabaya, pushes her to the front, makes her take the brunt, and gets her attacked, or probably he says, never mind, let this woman take the attack. Let this woman face the backlash of possible violence online. Let her take, because I am protecting my family. No. We have to assert this again, Mr. Religious Advisor. You are a coward. You got no balls. Put it simply, you just got no balls. And also your idea of asking the minority, what are you talking about? Look how crazy these people are. What else do we need? This is why these ideas are being propagated through the movies that we watch, through social media, through artists, through the far left, ultra liberal agenda which is controlling the mass media today. And they are pushing this agenda across the board. And all our children are absorbing, everyone is absorbing this idea slowly. Look at how they are changing kid stories. Toy Story. Have you seen the new Toy Stories? Have you seen Peppa Pig? Have you seen all of these stories? What are they trying to do? What are they doing? And you think it doesn't affect you? We need to know our truths. We need to know what the truth of Allah has told us in the Prophet ﷺ. And because of this truth, people will see that Islam is the source of reality in this world, and not this bonkers rubbish nonsense which this this fanatic is talking about.
Like, why do we have to look to them to ask for what should be done to the minority? You should be talking to the minority to ask them
Yeah.
how they should be fairly treated.
Yeah,
You know,
minority wants to
um,
be
so for
bestiality.
visibility.
Yeah,
If you're in the underground,
sure.
people
Let the dogs,
don't come out.
the bestiality people wants to
Queer.
attack the dogs in the streets.
Like you said, no one is
It's fair.
consequential when
You can do it.
LGBT Muslims
You can do it at home. Let me do also lah.
unless you're visibly queer. But then when your visibility is involved, then will go to haywire, and then people will be panicking, right? With regards to like the our our neighbors, those are part of. But
Just this one is not relevant.
everyone, but part of.
People are trying to go towards.
Okay, this one is very important.
It's
But
yeah, like this gatekeeping of Islam.
Gatekeeping.
It's
Gatekeeping.
all just so paradoxical. Because
Gatekeeping of Islam. At its core, is just so paradoxical because people are trying. What else you
people are
say?
trying to go towards their religion, and what all you're doing is really just pushing people away. And we see that happen within so many families where you want people to be more religious, more practicing, but you enact so many different forms of abuse and control and expect people to be interested or to feel that closeness or alignment. And
What are you talking about? Don't pretend to be smart. Don't use big jargon words when you don't even know what it means. How is it paradoxical? You don't even understand what Islam is based on, and you say we are paradoxical. You if you want to be religious, it means that you have to if you want to practice the religion of Islam, it means you have to follow what is understood as truth, and it's quite wide. I just want you guys to understand. Okay, in Islamic paradigm, it is sorry, no, in Islamic this religion of Islam. It is a very wide religion. The path is big. There are 4 different schools of thought which is accepted within the religion. There were more, but the most popular ones that we have today we have received today until today after 1400 years at the 4 different schools of jurisprudence. And within this jurisprudence they created a path, like a path like that, like a massive path like this. And as long as you fit within this path of these ideas which is massive, and from this path you can have an idea. Give me an example how far this path is. From one side you are allowed to touch dogs. Dogs are totally fine. You can play with them. You can drink from the same cups as them. To the other side, which is you're not allowed to touch dogs at all. It is a massive, massive path, right? But there are some clear cut things which everyone agrees without doubt, and one of it is this: there is no compromise. Ijma, we call this in our Islamic understanding, we call this ijma, a perspective which has no difference of opinion from the start until now. All of us agree that this is the truth. We agree in the same way we say Allah is one. We agree in the same way that we say the Prophet ﷺ is the final messenger. We agree in the same way that we say that we believe in the Quran. The same way. No difference. We all agree on these core principles. All of us agree that the Quran has not been changed. There's the 99.9% of Muslims agree in this. These people are out of this path. They are on a whole different path. So what are you talking about paradoxical? You have no clue about what is the ideas within Islam, and you want to claim this is paradoxical? Get a grip, man. And then, yeah, let's listen to what this
to your
Green Kabaya say.
What we do with our neighbors, we haven't planned anything yet, but we do actually get quite a few DMs from people from
Yeah.
Malaysia and Indonesia.
Guys from Malaysia, Indonesia, also share to these guys about this fanatical group.
Common, perhaps in different regions, because we had someone from London, I think, attending a crossover.
Look at that.
And they were saying that here you just can't find queer Muslim communities, but back home it's so common and it's so easy to come as you are and feel at home and understand that we are all going
What does that mean, guys? Simple. Look at Irie, a torchbearer of courage, opposite of what religious advisor guy, hiding behind this strong lady who is torch bearing the ideas of queerness, and this coward religious advisor is hiding behind this woman. It's upside down in this group, and very clearly this group, look, who did they follow? They are following Western liberal agendas, and they are trying to push it into our communities. And we need to learn. I'm not saying that you should do anything to these people. You don't have to do anything. What we should do is we start educating our people. We don't need to talk to dogs. We don't need to do anything to them. Leave them alone. Say Allah and move. But what do we need to do? We need to teach and make sure we know what is right and wrong. We need to tell and speak to our community, teach our children, clear definition, understanding of what is right and wrong, speak and advise and speak to our MPs and tell them that this worries us and these ideas is problematic for our society. Express to these people of power, not your religious associations, because they can't do anything. Speak to your non-Muslim leaders and tell them how this is important for you and why this is important for us in order for us to retain our society, to keep it sane and balanced, and protect our society from the Trojan horses of these woke agendas that we have no place in our Asian societies.
to look very different to one another, and yet we can still respect our the different ways to practice religion. Some people are wearing hijab, some people aren't, some people are tattooed, some people aren't.
Yeah.
These deviant
Yeah.
expressions of
Deviant expressions, you got that right.
ultimately that doesn't matter because we
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
Bring Islam into it is a reflection of you and not the other person.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Bigger in number.
Doesn't matter.
Their religious expressions are more
Untuk.
variegated,
I'm gonna forward this.
more central.
This guys is just talking nonsense again. Gonna forward this a little bit.
How we can
On something you said, Mohammed, about how Malaysia is very centralized, government trying
Gonna skip this.
strength and unity, which is part of the big problem of how we deal with which is that you're feeling that other people in your community, the people who are oppressed, do you get a sense that you're feeling that other people in your community, the people who are oppressing you in your community, feel that you're the ones letting the group down by not conforming and building internal strength and unity?
Get green kebaya. Nodding again.
Which is
You should do a
part of
nodding counter,
the problem of how we deal with minority majority relationships in Singapore, that it's a very sort of top down oppressive, fit into this
Oppressive.
boxes
Abuse.
approach, free society,
I'm abused.
evolution,
Ah.
the individual within that.
Victim.
But also a problem where everyone sees themselves as a minority, right? And historically in Singapore, you have a very interesting dynamic where under British colonialism, the Chinese were heavily oppressed. Their language, their education system, their culture, and then the PAP continued that, shutting down Nanta and ending Chinese education. So I brought this up in a previous podcast with my Sarah about how on earth to deal with a problem of race when both sides see themselves as the oppressed minority. And how on earth do you build solidarity?
Don't
It comes
pretend to
when
understand lah, green kebaya.
decades of
Annoying.
both sides.
You got no clue.
That we're the ones who've been oppressed. Why should we give way? So coming back to you, do you get a feeling in your community that, hey, we're already so oppressed, stop making things worse for us? We're already so struggling so much. Why do you need to be different? Why can't you just, conform and be a good team player until, I don't know, some unspecified future, right? But do you get that sense as well that, the feeling towards you is not like, we don't like you, but you're letting us down?
You know why? You know why? You know why? Green Kebaya said I let you answer. Because she didn't understand. She just nodded for the sake of nodding. She didn't understand. She pretended to understand. Green Kebaya. Green Kebaya, don't pretend to understand. You have no clue. Look. You have no clue.
How? It's easy. One word: empathy. I think the mainstream
This religious advisor is big on this.
asking to cardboard pieces of just sex that they
Religious advisor, cardboard pieces. We're gonna do a counter. Okay, we're gonna do a counter. We're gonna see how many times that you have sexualized everything you're talking about. You yourself is talking about sex. Your whole agenda is sex. What are you talking about?
devoid us of humanity and common problems and commonalities. We face Islamophobia, we face racism, sexism, and all the same things that other minorities like Muslims also face. But they forget that, people think that, oh, they have pinkdot, they have a community. That's not true. That's rampant racism within the queer community in Singapore. There's Singapore beauty standards to adhere to, which minorities do not, match.
This PJ Tom like, huh? You gonna attack your own peer dot this guy is not happy with anybody.
Do not want to behave ourselves, but how do we behave ourselves and still be able to live with ourselves, right? Sure, it is easy to just get married,
Don't submit.
to an opposite sex, for
Yeah, don't submit.
and live your life. But what does that say about you, as a religious person? How is that fair to the opposite, to your spouse, for example? If you're really all about gender equality right now, right? How is that fair to the opposite gender? For example, say like a gay man, Muslim man marry a straight, Muslim woman. Sure.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you how it is fair. The Muslim man takes on this challenge that he has within himself, find the courage within himself, find the manliness and the masculinity within himself to rise up over his individual challenges and serve to the best of his ability his partner. Simple as that. Just like how a father is willing to risk his life to make sure he takes care of his wife and children, the same way this this man who has this same-sex attractions rise above these challenges, rise above these difficulties that he's facing, and face it head on and say, I'm willing to do this for the other person because it's not about me. Love is not about what you guys are saying. You are saying that love is the ability to have sex with anybody, anything I want. No. We say there's limits. Love is doing something for other person and asking nothing in return. Even it means that you have to sacrifice yourself. In Islam, we do this first and foremost for Allah and His Messenger. Means we sacrifice our desires, our wants for Allah and His Messenger. And because of that, because we are willing to do this for Allah and His Messenger, we are willing to do that. We will do it for our spouses. And so a man who might have these inclinations of the same sex is because he loves Allah and His Prophet ﷺ, he will rise above this difficulty and give justice and do justice for his partner. Just like the same man who has a desire for other women, he will rise above these challenges and give it and do what is just for his partner. This is basically it. Simple, bro. Simple. What you want is you want to have, again, you want to have your cake and you want to eat it as well. It doesn't work like that, bro. It doesn't work like that. There's no 100% equality in this world. We do the best of we can, and as long as we and Allah knows we are struggling towards that perfection of ourselves, to continuously go towards what is best according to what the Prophet and Allah has showed us, Allah knows. Allah witness to our actions. He is witnessing us at every moment of our life. And if a man who is struggling with such an idea, such perversions, and he fights through it, and knows that Allah is watching him overcome this difficulty and willing to sacrifice himself for what is just and what is right, high is his place with Allah. High.
Sex is not everything, but how is that fair to that woman? How is that
Sex?
ethical? How is
Yeah.
that Islamic? You know, when there's lack of honesty there, how can that be part of the religion? When there's no integrity there, that's no longer religion. Then you know, there's nothing about that is faith anymore. So that's what we're trying to do. How do we live ethically and behave ourselves, but to the best of our capabilities, within our moral codes, within the Islamic moral codes as well. But we are not getting support, because there's no conversation happening. Whenever there's a conversation happening with the mainstream Muslim community, and there has been, with some of the religious authorities here, the conversation.
Hey guys, listen ah.
Okay, this is
Listen
our
ah.
stand, and then
Listen ah. They have interacted with this community there, and this is what they say. I hope this is true.
that's it.
Mm.
And then you stop there. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you tell us what are your problems, but what's the next step then? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it will be followed by a media release about, oh, we've done this, we've reached out, we have a focus group discussion. Yeah, but focus group discussion, you don't come up with a solution. There isn't really a next step. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And you already come to the table not with really open arms, more of like, this is our stand, and you just have to accept it because this is the majority anyway,
Yeah.
and behave yourself. We do want to behave ourselves. Trust us, it would just be easier if we could behave ourselves, but then we wouldn't be able to live with ourselves, and that's the problem that we want to talk about. That's why we have a mental health branch as well. You get what I mean? It's say if you choose a certain lifestyle, I think for queer Muslims, the lifestyle is still a choice, because we have to make that choice, because it's a momentous choice. You get what I mean?
Momentous choice to choose kufur or choose submission. This is what it is, This is what it is.
Yeah.
I think with the behaving as a team player, that's a very interesting question, because sometimes it feels almost generational. Like there are certain generations of Muslims that will enforce that a bit more stricter than others. And with some generations, it's not even that you have to be a team player, but there's just no value to being queer. I just don't see the point. Like why deviate? Why not? And the question doesn't come, why can't you just do what everyone else is doing? But it then just is something that is very, it's a sort of privilege.
She has no idea what she's talking about. This PJ Tam also just nodding his head. Also the one of the head nodders.
I have to question what identity is. I have to question what faith is. I have to recognize that actually my exploration of faith isn't very deep, because it's not very understanding. And that's just what I've personally experienced. It's not, it's really not about being a team player. It's just, it would be uncomfortable for me to do that radical self-inquiry.
So what she is saying is that I am not willing to submit myself to Islam because it is a radical self-inquiry, and I won't be comfortable because I don't want to do it. That's what it is. This is what it is.
When we say deviate and mainstream, we always have to remember it's elites people in power setting up this idea of what is mainstream.
Yeah.
If you look
Again,
at
woke. This all this
it-
this
you know,
this.
culture in Singapore and how it's changed so drastically over the decades, and what is mainstream, what is normal has changed so much, right? The things that we do or think or say today would be very alien to our grandparents, 50 years ago. And I can say this because I've really studied the 50s and 60s.
Okay, I'm just gonna skip
Different
this part because this guy
ideas
comes up with all this bullshit, come up with all this nonsensical agenda that these guys are trying to push on. So I'm gonna skip
Section of your list.
to 47, 45 right here. Okay.
It's really about privilege, and we're just talking about this part. We haven't even talking about sexual health, right? A lot of
So for all this while he's been talking about mental health, blah blah blah. Now he's going to about sexual health. Let's go. Let's listen to what this guy has to say about sexual health.
there's an overrepresentation of HIV patients, for example, and people with like STDs amongst the Malay Muslim queer folks, because there is a lack of like sexual health and sexual information. Who is going to educate them?
Okay, it's not a funny matter. Okay. These guys can't see it. I mean, like they can't see it. The fact there is so many STDs that's caused fatality within this community because they are practicing such things. There's a propagation of STDs and people are dying because of it. They find no problem with it. No problem at all. There's no problem with practicing all of this. The fact that you see people dying is not a reason. Now we want to teach you how to overcome this possibility of death from something which is so natural, that it is natural to do this kind of activities because it can lead you to death. Look at how mentally destroyed they are. Like the fact that something can promote STDs that can cause you to die, something which the act of doing these things can cause you irreversible rectum damage, which can cause you fatal consequences, is not a reason of why this is wrong. No. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Even your biological body is telling you is something wrong, but you refuse to ignore it. This is how mentally and intellectually bankrupt these people are. They are bankrupt. They have no feet to ground. They have no ground to stand on. They have nothing at all.
I mean, your conservative Muslim parents are not going to educate you on like sexual health.
Of course not.
Are sexually active.
Sorry.
You're not being practical. You're still on the idealistic, notion that you just behave. This is the ideal. Meet it.
Submission.
We are not
Submission
we are not perfect
to
human
the
beings.
Deen of Islam.
We will never meet that ideal. So what
No one will, bro.
Emptiness. There's no conversation.
You know what it is? It's not emptiness. It is submission to the will of Allah. It is submission to what is right. Is leaving what is wrong and take on that responsibility. Take on the challenge to overcome your carnal desires. The reason why you feel empty is because you don't want to submit. That is it. Nothing else. The reason why we have so much depression today is people do not know how to submit to the will of Allah. That's basically it. Nothing else. If you don't have a purpose, and your purpose is not to submit your will to Allah, to find meaning in submitting your will to Allah, you are finished. This is it. You are the proof. Emptiness. That's what it is, bro. That's what it is.
Situation that leads up to that, right? So, like I said, there's real world issues that require real world solutions. but there isn't a space for it. So that's why we try to facilitate this conversation, try to provide resources, try to educate, not just empower, but also educate queer Muslims by just being their friend. So that's why we are not professionals. Like maybe like we have a social worker, but we're not professionals. But the least that we could do is we are an informed friends. We
Informed.
might have a little bit more privilege for us to do this because this takes privilege. It takes a lot of our time and our mental,
And sleep,
bandwidth.
yeah.
And sleep and personal time from
Sleep.
family, etc., to respond to
Noble
requests.
cause. Oh.
You can't respond to a query through DM while you're in a low emotional state. You have to be, stable yourself. Where you are still going through it yourself. As a queer Muslim, we also have our own issues to deal with. We have family to deal with, right? So this should have been a systemic, there should have been a systemic support. But no, because why? People still want to talk about whether it's possible to be gay and Muslim at the same time.
And
Yeah.
forget like the queer people for just 1 second, right? If you look at the issues within the Muslim community, like I mentioned earlier, there's so much like sex ed is not robust at all. There's so much to do with like abuse and violence, and like there's so much to talk about and address, but there are just no resources or no interest on really fulfilling the needs of the community as they are. So the only thing that we can do now is to decide, okay, you know what, as much as those issues are
I just want to say something about Green Kabaya here. Green Kabaya, you don't have to stay. You don't have to identify as a Muslim. It's okay. It's okay, Green Kabaya. We don't throw us under the bus. Stop throwing us under the bus. If you really throw us under the bus, you call us hypocrites. You call us abusive. You call us violence. You tell this liberal woke guy how backward your Muslim community is and how rubbish your Muslim community is. Complain to this person who does not know La ilaha illallah wa Rasulullah. Who does not understand the Islamic idea, and you are telling him how stupid these Muslims are. Look at how stupid this Muslim community is. Look how backward they are. You hate the religion, and yet you want to claim it for your own. Who gives you that right? Why do you think you have the right to do that? You don't have that right. You throw us on the bus, you step on our faces, and then you expect us to treat you nicely. You expect us to open red carpets for you. Come and accept us. Poor thing. I poor thing. I hope that you find guidance, really, and I hope you find the courage to overcome whatever you have said. You are just being pushed by Mr. Religious Advisor to be the front, while he lets you take all the punches, all the disgrace, and he hides behind you. And he accepts all the prestige and the pomp of a noble cause guy who comes from a religious industry, who's willing to sacrifice. He's willing to sacrifice nothing for you. You don't have to stay. It's okay. It's okay, Airi. Green Kabaya. I had enough of listening to you throwing us under the bus. Enough. We know you hate us. We know you don't like us. We know you don't want us. Allah says in the Quran that the character of the Muslim is gentle and loving to the mu'minun, to the believers, and they are fierce and strong against the people who are against the religion. I don't think PJ Tam is against the religion, but the character of being gracious and loving towards your Muslim community, you have nothing. You just throw us under the bus, and then you claim, and then you say that these people don't accept you. How accepting are you? These guys are just mental bankrupt. They are intellectually bankrupt. These guys, intellectually
Then we have
bankrupt.
to look within ourselves, and we have to see that the queer Muslims need the most protection, and we will do everything in our power to provide that.
Actually, we do receive requests from heterosexual identifying, Muslims asking us about sexual questions and stuff relating to religion.
Guys, don't go to these guys. They don't have anything.
We have to push back and we have to say this is beyond our scope because our focus is just for queer Muslims to be a peer support for queer Muslims. But we find that is
There's
an
still
indication.
there's still a demand.
Yeah, there's a
right?
demand for it, and because like Irie was saying, not addressing the queer the Muslim community as they are rather than as they should be or how they should behave. That's the problem. Then a lot of issues goes under the rug and then nothing gets addressed, or you don't want to address them because everything is still taboo, which is very interesting because like when we were looking at our resources, we've seen how sex positive Islam was.
Sex again.
Discuss about every single thing.
You know, guys.
what I mean?
These guys, he said like they sexualize us. Look at their resources. Sex positive. They are looking at sex resources. Part of their resources is about sex. Nothing about submission. Nothing about tazkiyatun nafs, about purifying yourself. Nothing about changing yourself, but sex resources. Sex positive Islam is.
In like homoeroticism was the
Homoeroticism.
the medieval period.
Medieval period.
Back then the Europeans were the ones judging the Muslims, right, saying these are the libertines, these are the ones who are not behaving themselves, God cursed them, right? Now it's the other way around. and it's so funny how we are not able to discuss topics
This guy is using examples of sultans who had like concubines, and again, mental retards. They are not using the majority people, how the majority are actually living their lives and what they are basing the truths on. They take a radical minority and say that this, because there is such a thing, means that is accepted, and they use the language and the justifications of people who are enemies of Islam in that time, the Europeans who were definitely enemies of Islam that time, who were doing the Crusades, and judging the Muslims on that. They accept these people's judgment. They accept these judgments of this as truth, is right. But now opposite, these Muslims somehow they change. They change.
were discussed back then so freely and openly in the malls and in like open spaces. I mean, things have changed, but we can't wait. So that's why we formed QUASA, to bring back that,
Bring the kufur, the kufur of Kaum Lut.
So ultimately, this space you're creating is fantastic. But what I'm also hearing is there's so much of it that is just structural and beyond just queer Muslims. It's about how Singapore is misogynistic. It's economically exploitative. Neoliberal capitalism is destroying us.
You don't understand lah.
And really what we need is
You don't understand green kebaya. Why you pretend?
if we have a redistributive economy that treats people with dignity and respect, it feels like 90% of your problems will be dealt with.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, you don't even understand a single thing you say. Understand what this guy is saying. You don't pretend, green kebaya. So pretty much, if I get sex, if I can have sex wherever I want, I get money, I can do whatever I want. Problem solved. No more problems. Pretty much, right? Green kebaya, Irie, green kebaya. Pretty much.
But and that's the thing. I think we also create QUASA because we recognize that first step is the hardest, but we have to do it, and we hope that by creating QUASA, other queers, other Muslims, other whoever feel
Doesn't
okay,
matter.
if they can do that,
There's no
then
meaning.
we can also create our own communities and see.
There's no
that's
meaning
the
at all.
only form of resistance we have right now.
people always caveat their questions to us. Thank you so much for existing, because it means a lot to them that we are, existing, right?
Yeah.
That we are here acting, for lack of a better word, a catalyst for change, basically, and we are starting change, and we are hoping that it would cause like a snowball effect.
So you just hear from the horse's mouth, religious advisor mouth, that they want to force this down our throats. And this is the thing about social media. One of the problems of social media is that it enlarges deviant minority groups into the masses. This is the one problem that we have, with the algorithms and pushing up this kind of ideas. If someone picks up and promotes these ideas more often and not easier than other groups. And once you fit some sort of keywords, most sort of the trendy words, you will go into the easier capacity for you to reach out. And our kids will just absorb these ideas, just absorb. So this is why it's very important that these people in the past were not this risk of these people, these deviants not being able to reach out to our children and our communities was because of there was no social media. But the landscape has changed very, very drastically. That these deviants and these people who are teaching this belief to our community, they are there and their voices are heard much louder than before. They are much visible than before. And it's very important for us to combat this with education, combat this by teaching our kids true Islamic values, that they should know what's right and wrong. Right. When the opportunity for such ideas to come about, you must be clear. And if you don't have the avenues and the education and the perspective to protect your family, then it's incumbent upon you to learn it. It's incumbent upon you to learn it. It's incumbent upon you to learn it. And if you don't do it, if you're a father and you don't have the understandings to protect your family, then you have not become a father. Today, are we living in an age where to be the father, to be the protector of the family, is that you must have the capacity to protect your children physically, to protect your children financially, and to protect your children intellectually, which means that you must have the capacity to guide them on all fronts. And if you do not guide them, and when your sheep gets lost down the road, don't blame society. You are to be blamed. Okay.
We might be limited to what we can do right now, but at least we are starting it, and that's what we aim for. Now that restrictions are lifted, we are hoping for more events, more community-based offline events where we can meet each other and have like actual discussions of like religion and etc. We're also trying to create more safe spaces for queer identifying Muslims to practice their religion, right? So like I said, there's also the issues of like some queer identifying or visibly queer Muslims not being able to practice freely in the
Nonsense,
mosque,
lies,
or ask
lies,
questions in the mosque, etc. So that's what we're trying to provide.
total lies.
Filling the gaps, right? Yeah.
Okay. So what are your future plans? You've mentioned more events. You have an Instagram page. Will you have any other channels? Are you developing any other channels?
We have Twitter.
We are
Twitter.
trying.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I think for us, Instagram is really where our resource library will be for now. We might look at a site, but we are really just building those resources first. Whether those are, academic texts or just like guides, manual instructions on how to perform a certain religious rite. Those are the things that we are looking at. But as mentioned, I think we are doing these things called chapters, where we want to basically welcome as many queer Muslims as we can. We vet all of them, and then we have a sort of like orientation into being
Indoctrination?
What tools do you need, and then guiding them through the mental health, the spiritual, the community aspect, and basically what we're planning to do is groups of maybe 8 people, I think, and this one group will follow like the different chapter as it progresses, so that they have and these are like basically in-person workshops that we're conducting, and opportunities to gather together with community safely.
The goal is to have them empowered and informed about being queer and Muslims at the end of it. So that can have an effect around their social circles, because we can't reach out to that many,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah.
Equipping them with that, like with those tools, and also with their own communities, because we don't want to be at the center of it. We want to. We want you to see that okay, there are at least 7
Activism.
people in my group.
That's basically
but
they want to
across the
create
community that are like
deviant
and so people, like,
activists
don't have to always go to
to
QUASA
infiltrate
if you're not, like, an
the
activist.
community.
Yes.
You know, you form your own communities, and then you go branch out and you do your own like projects. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we started as friends.
Yeah. We did.
QUASA started as friends because we realized there's no friends. So we are hoping that
Looks like Pigeon is falling asleep.
lonely and alone as a queer Muslims, especially in Singapore. So at least we are helping.
He's like bring eyes like
friends with each other. Yeah.
And okay, this might be a stupid question, but is it possible to do LGBTQ friendly religious services? Like, because you know, in the Christian community, there's at least one.
Irene thinks it's possible. We should. Let's do it now.
Q, started by the former Methodist bishop. Is the same thing possible?
It's already been done,
Yeah?
like across the globe, in
Yeah.
Australia, in London, in the States.
They want it,
In
guys.
Singapore,
They want this.
it would be very difficult.
Because
Oh.
of the religious authority here.
So you need licensing and things like
Exactly.
that. Right.
Yeah, you will need like the Asatizar recognition scheme, certification for you to perform any religious services. However, we do have a number of queer-friendly
Queer
religious,
friendly
like
lyrics.
clergymen in Singapore. Recently, we had a Quran class which was facilitated by one of them.
I mean, this clergy or Quran friendly ustaz. I wonder what you shared. I hope you shared something with them. And I wanna and whoever you are, I wanna have a discussion with you. I wanna talk to you and understand whether you understand what it means to be queer. And this is one of the problems I realize that is that they are not equipped, you know, and so they want to jump on the bandwagon of being relevant and getting some sort of traction within whatever groups that they can get. They succumb to this, and then also, you know, like, you know, we are in an age where people do these things as a business. Like, you know, this guy, he thinks religious. There are scholars who are asatizas who make this into a business industry. There's some truth to that. But you know, like, I wanna meet this guy who thinks that yes, to who did this class, and speak to him about his ideas of what is right and what is wrong, and how does he attempt, or what is his method to be able to teach these people the rights and wrongs about Islam, and what does it mean to be queer friendly? You know, what does it mean? You know, what does it mean to be queer friendly, and what is your understanding of right and wrongs?
So that happens, but we do have to reach out to them personally, and there's always a caveat. Oh, I don't want to be
Yeah.
published.
Also,
Yeah, you get what I mean. I don't want my name anywhere.
yeah, I don't want.
You get what I
And
mean?
it's
Yeah.
Takut,
huge
takut.
because it's not like there aren't queer asatizas or ustads. Like, you know, there are queer ustads and asatizas. They're just like,
Yeah, just because you are one, just because you are this group of people, you think everyone else is also like that. You think if you are a pervert, you think everyone else is a pervert. I'm sorry, Green Abaya Irene. Like, you just brainwashed.
people do that freely. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the need for it is being seen among the religious community. It's a very slow progress, but and it would take time. And I think the point of this is, as much as however long it would take, at least the needle is moving. At least something is in is mobile. You get what I mean? Not static. And we will wait, but I mean, as a historian yourself, you could see that, you know, conservatism comes and go.
Yeah.
You know, humanity tends to venture towards a certain direction, towards more justice, more equality,
This is
more
just-
fairness. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, lack of equality is just a temporary phase until like something momentous occur. Yeah. So
The
we're
arc of
hoping
the
for-
universe is long, but it
But
tends
Exactly.
towards
towards-
justice.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are hoping for that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're out of time. But last question for people listening, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to get involved, how should they find you?
So you can find us on QUASA on Instagram and Twitter, QUASA.SG, and we've already started putting out queer spirituality surveys. We are looking at collecting more data to build our resources in our library, but we also will begin those chapters very soon. So stay tuned, and then we will contact you through the forms and form responses if you're interested.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So thank you very much, Irie and Mohammed, for coming on Political Agenda today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. I wish you all the best. We'll have all those links for your stuff in the show notes. So if people want to reach out, they can reach out. And of course, thank you to you, our listener, for
Thank you.
tuning in today.
Welcome, you're welcome.
And as always,
Thank you,
if
thank you.
enjoyed this, if you find this
Yeah.
useful, please do join New Narrative
Oh, okay.
as a member at newnarrative.com
Okay.
/join or donate newnarrative.com
Can.
/donate. We
Okay.
need you to keep our movement for democracy in Southeast
Yes.
Asia going.
No problem, no
Thank you very
problem.
much, and see you next time.
No problem.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
Okay,
If you'd like to
thank
learn
you,
more
New
about
Narrative.
please check out this playlist
Uh,
here. And if you'd like
New
to
Narrative, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Alright guys, that's about it for today. I think I've did a lot of talking over this few hours, but I think it's important, to sum this all up. You hear it from the owner house's mouth. You see that there is a group, within the community which is propagating these ideas, ultra woke liberal ideas into our communities, which they have brought in, they have imported in from Western countries, and they're trying to push it into our community, and we need to speak out against it, and we need to speak to our MPs, speak to them and tell them our problems, and we do not need to speak to our these other organizations because they can't do anything, and tell our community leaders about our fears and our disapproval with the ability of these people to push such narrative into our community, because it is a source of division. It will break the community, as we have seen in the West, how the community has become so polarized in different ideas, in different spectrum, that you break the community, and this cannot happen within our society. And Muslims must be proud of our proud of our teachings, and we cannot cower ourselves down because of mass media propaganda. We must stand up firm, do it rightly, do it with compassion, do it how the Prophet ﷺ has taught us to do it, and be confident of what you have, and rubbish off this woke ultra left ideologies and push it into the dustbins of where they should belong. Alright guys, till the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace. Thank you everybody for watching The Pursuit for Meaning. And if you enjoyed and appreciated what we have put out here, it will help us a lot for you guys to like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you want to join our little community we are building, the links to the Discord is in the description below. Thank you. Bye.